Hey YouTube, Ryan Knight here. And this is actually a response to Zeitgeist Eater because I don't want to go ahead and uh, write an entire book for a reply, so I'm just going to go ahead and make a quick video. Um, Zeitgeist mentioned that people that he's been hearing more and more of people finding MGTOW not by, stumbling across Sandman's videos or stumbling across it on the internet and that sort of thing, but a lot of people are finding MGTOW because of people like Karen Strong. Basically hearing about men going their own way by way of a woman, which, as he rightly said, is pretty ironic. And I've been noticing that too. A couple of the MGTOWs that I've talked to locally actually first discovered what MGTOW is. They first heard of MGTOW from a woman. And the reason why I'm not really all that surprised by this, unlike Zeitgeist, I don't think it's really to do with a woman said it, so there has to be something to it. What it's more about is, it's kind of like with feminism, Women talking about women's issues, at first it wasn't really taken all that seriously. And no, I am not comparing MGTOW to feminism. They are very, very different beasts. In a lot of different ways. Are there some similarities? Yeah, but come the fuck on. You're going to find similarities between just about anything nowadays. But when feminism first started out, it was really hard for women to get people to take it seriously. Until men started actually getting behind it. And then all of a sudden, people took it seriously. Now, there, of course, just like with some guys, a woman said it, so that sort of thing. But something tells me they don't stay in the MGTOW lifestyle for long. But what it is basically, the sad truth of it is, it's actually what a lot of people are saying, especially MRAs. That men and women are meant to complement one another. Well, wouldn't it, at that point, and with the way of thinking that we've developed based off of that, wouldn't it make sense that women bitching about women's issues and men bitching about men's issues isn't going to be taken all that seriously? One, because it seems very self-serving. And two, because of the pure and simple fact that women solve men's issues and men solve women's issues. I mean, look at history. What were old issues that women faced? Men from rival tribes coming in and kidnapping them and mating with them, right? Now, how did men solve that problem? Well, they fought. What was an issue that men faced that women solved? Well, men were the faster, stronger, more physically resilient of the two. So they were out hunting, and they were exhausted when they came back. So the women would go ahead and do the cooking, make sure that everything was maintained as far as the living space was concerned. And I'm talking about way, way back. I'm talking about before advanced civilization was even a thing. That's pretty much been how it's gone, this one has a problem, the other one solves it thing has pretty much been going up until recently. And now all of a sudden, women aren't interested in solving men's issues. They stopped caring about that. So, what's the next logical step? Men stop caring about solving women's issues. They're all like, all right, you want to solve your own issues? We need to solve ours. But the thing is feminism started before anything started for men. And we're talking about decades. If not I'm not actually not sure how old feminism is. It might be a century or so prior to anything for men solving their own issues at that point. But men were still solving women's issues. Men were still focused on that. And so as feminism took hold, more and more women's issues were being solved at a more rapid pace. But the problem is it's kind of like the, conservation of mass theorem, When you add to something, you have to take away from something else. Well, what was taken away was the effort of women solving issues that men face. We were no longer working in harmony, and the scales became unbalanced. Nature doesn't exactly like the scales being unbalanced. Nature likes things to be nice and clear cut. You see this in any social animal. You see it throughout nature. Doesn't matter if it's animal, if it's plant. It doesn't care. And so, because that imbalance happened, now we're starting to see a violent reset. And when I say violent, I'm not talking about physically violent. I'm talking about violent as in jarring. As in, it's happening very, very quickly. And it's, MRAs popping up, MGTOW popping up, anti-feminists, just all these things suddenly popping up for men. And a lot of people are trying to say, oh, well, it's just men rebelling. Well, actually, no. It's the ones that fight the hardest right now are a few women. Because they're seeing this happen. They're getting that chill. They're seeing the effects that only focusing on one part of the equation is having. So now we have MGTOW. So it would make sense that men would hear about MGTOW from women and actually, kind of perk up their ears when a woman says it. Because at that point, it's going to come down to, well, this is counterintuitive for this woman to be saying this, to be spreading this information. Wouldn't you think that this is damning? So why is it so important at this point for her to spread this information? This has got to be something important if she's spreading information that is ultimately detrimental to her personal interests and to the interests of her kind. Because that's sadly where we're at this point. We've always had a dichotomy, but it was always a symbiotic relationship. Whereas now it's an antagonistic relationship. And so now we're at the point where balance has to be maintained. So of course MGTOW is going to be a big thing. And if it's not MGTOW, then it's the herbivore men movement. If it's not the herbivore men movement, it's men's rights. the difference is with MGTOW and the herbivore men movement, it's a full cutoff. It's them going, all right, you need us like a fish needs a bicycle? Fine. We don't need you either. Which biologically isn't true, but when it comes to social aspects, yes, it is true. And you'll always have the breeders. You'll always have those. The people that give into that primal aspect of themselves. So it's not like we're going to go ahead and do that. But the thing is feminism would die off and MGTOW would die off, and the scales will once again be balanced. And they'll be able to look at this and go, look at how drastically our numbers fell when these two movements actually became a thing, when they became mainstream. So, do we really want to do that again? We won't survive the next one. At least until the world starts to get overpopulated as it is right now, once again. But that's how nature does this. I mean, it may sound cruel, but the thing is MGTOW is in my opinion, the natural remedy that nature has come up with. Nature going, all right, you know what? I'm going to let the reins loose on you men. I'm going to let you get away from this. I'm going to loosen my grip because I gave the females a lot of rope because they knew that they needed to stay in proximity of you to survive. And now they think that that's not the case. So, be free. And that's a really disturbing thought. Because at that point, that's nature allowing us to self-destroy, to maintain balance. But also maybe feminism was just an inevitability. And not just feminism, but also MGTOW, because the two are inextricably linked. It's a cause and effect. Maybe it's because we're so overpopulated that this has become an issue. Because now women have gotten to the point where they have resources at their disposal from multiple sources. So, in their eyes, the value of men has gone down. Whereas before, men were valued for their resources, which is still true today. But the thing is now there are a lot more options. If you suddenly reduce all of the options, all of a sudden the value goes up. You have too many options, the value plummets and can't sustain. So maybe this is actually just nature's way of kind of, culling the herd. And a lot of people are, they're constantly making jokes that, the women that go into feminism, are fat, ugly, so on and so forth, in some way defective. Well, the thing is when you look at it, a lot of them, yeah, they're lacking in some field. At least as far as nature is concerned. The problem is I don't think nature realized how bad it is, And I'm talking about nature like it's, this intelligent force. I know that's not it. But when I say that nature didn't realize how far things had gone, is you would expect that at that point, the less desirables would end up going to MGTOW. When that isn't the case. A lot of MGTOWs tend to be very successful, tend to actually be relatively physically fit, not really be rife with disease. In most cases would be described as an alpha. And so here's the problem. Because I'm not one of those people that looks at at PUA and thinks MGTOW, because that's a completely different thing. MGTOWs are actually thinking with this head, not that one. PUAs are the exact opposite. The only time they think with this head is to give them the opportunity to use that head. So, it's a very different thing. And they're putting themselves at a lot of risk. Whereas MGTOWs, it's basically risk avoidance. Only taking the risk where the payout is worth it. But, and that's where I say breeders, you know, they'll always be there. But, the problem is now you've got the undesirables going this way, you got the alphas going this way, you got a whole lot of people caught in the middle. A mixture of some alphas that just aren't quite sharp enough to figure out that they're being had. And then you've also got some alpha females that are staying in the middle. A lot of alpha females are staying in the middle, wondering where all the good guys are going, why the alpha males aren't interested anymore. You've got the piece of shit beta females sitting off on the sidelines, bitching and complaining about the alpha females and about the alpha males and even about the beta males. And then you got the beta males sitting there trying to get the attention of the alpha females and the beta females. And they're failing horribly at all twists and turns, which is nothing really new, but now it's just that much more apparent. And it's a giant shit show. So we're either going to end up with the beta males going ahead and passing on their genetics, and the alpha males going on without passing on their genetics, weakening our gene pool, or we're going to go ahead and have the beta females sitting there and shaming the alpha females into thinking that they're betas, killing their drive to reproduce, and killing the drive that's necessary to actually get an alpha male, making it so then males have to go for the beta females, which again weakens the fucking pool. It doesn't matter how you slice it. This is a bad fucking situation as far as genetics is concerned. Because unfortunately, the intended effect of men being released is the social aspect. The socialization of humans is what is killing us at this point. Our social nature. Or should I say our social structure and social norms. Because the thing is you've got that double standard, which is, you know, women are automatically, like, instead of, like, on a scale of 0 to 10 of how desirable they are, no. For some odd reason in society, there's no 0 to 10 for women. There's a 5 to 10. And if you give a 5, you're a worthless piece of shit, and you're automatically a 0 and fucking get the fuck out. You know, that sort of thing. Whereas with men, you've got a 0 to 10 for desirability, and only a small portion of that has to do with personality. The rest of it has to do with the amount of resources that they can amass quickly. And then you also have the physical attributes that factor in as well. So, society already skews that. So the thing is you've got these women that think that they're hot shit, when in all honesty, they're just shit. You got guys that are sitting there and thinking that they're worthless piles of crap, when any woman would be lucky to have him. But then also, you've got female nature that compounds this problem, because they want to go for the bad boy. Well, the bad boy isn't the one that gets the resources, huh? So now they're trying to sit there and get, the bad boy genetics, go out, ride what MGTOW calls the cock carousel, which is a pretty apt name. And then once they're done and over with there, they then want the beta males to go ahead and raise the alpha males' offspring and fully fund it. Now, normally that would be a, oh, fuck you situation, and they'd walk away. Well, because of our social system, leading into our legal system, under the guise of, well, think of the children, they don't give a fuck about the children. If they gave a fuck about the children, the first thing to go wouldn't be education funds, would it? No, they don't give a fuck about the children. They want to protect the women. Because the women are capable of going out and working if absolutely necessary, so they can make money off of them that way. Then you've also got regular nature, which, if you don't know about neoteny, go ahead and look it up. It'll terrify you. And then on top of that, you've also got this long-standing thing of the man has to sacrifice for the woman. Well, a lot of men are in positions of power, right? You hear feminists bitch about it all the time, but what they don't realize is as they continue to put more women into positions of power, suddenly women are going to become less important. Feminism is a self-killing system. Unfortunately, it's kind of like chemo, just it existing is it on its way out. But at the same time, while it's there, while it's active, it causes damage to the rest of the body. It doesn't target the cells that it hurts. It doesn't go, oh, I'm going to go after this specific cell. No. And you see this anytime there's a little lull in male screw-ups, and all of a sudden feminists start turning and eating each other. But the problem is by the time it gets around to the point where all of a sudden women aren't the most important thing, men will have completely lost interest and will have moved on. And all of a sudden you're going to see a complete and total reverse in the dichotomy where a woman has to go ahead and try to convince a man. We're already seeing this. We're already seeing women going ahead proposing for marriage. We're seeing women going up and having to ask men out on dates. We're seeing girls having to ask guys out to the prom. You're seeing all of this starting to happen. So it's interesting that even though you're seeing all of this happening, all this has been told and said by men for a long time now, they still look at those men and call them crazy, even though it's happening in the exact order that was said before. Before the shit actually happened. It's not one of those, I told you this was going to happen. No, you didn't. No, it's not one of those. It's all like, yeah, I did. There's the blog. Or there's the video. You're getting these situations now. And it's scary. Because no one wants to face the facts. If we don't stop this feminist bullshit, MGTOW is going to continue to grow. As feminism grows, so does MGTOW. But even if feminism was to tomorrow just suddenly stop, all feminists just go, oh shit, what was I thinking? It'll be too late. Because now the MGTOW movement will continue to grow. Because the damage has been done. The threat has been recognized. And it would take decades of legal changes to even begin to correct the issue enough to where men will even peek back at the plantation. And I'm talking about through a high-power sniper scope. But the thing is we're not going to see that. Because the thing is it hasn't reached critical mass. We haven't gone through one of the parts there, which is going to be women trying to make it illegal for a man to say no to a woman. Once that happens, then we're at least at the top of the hill and it's all downhill from there. But sad to say, that's the middle portion. And just because you're going downhill doesn't mean it's going to be any better. Figure it this way. If you fall while walking uphill, you just fall flat on your face, right? Doesn't hurt that bad. You might get a skinned knee, whatever. Now, if you're running down a steep downhill incline and you fall, what happens? That's right. You're more than likely going to get fucked up. You're going to tumble, you're going to roll, you're going to break bones, possibly die. So downhill is not always better. But the thing is, I'm telling you right now, as far as MGTOW is concerned, the guys that go that way honestly are smart. The guys who decide to still give it a try, you have to try to find the one for you. Well, guys, I'm going to let you know right now, the one for you will still fuck you. At least that's what the odds are. Your true love, well, we'll see how true that love is if you ever get laid off. I'm just going to be honest. The fact of the matter is feminism has made the relationship between men and women one thing and one thing only. A business contract. And we need to start treating it as a business contract. MGTOW is already doing this. They're looking at the cost-benefit analysis and making their decision based on that. And right now, the contract is completely one-sided. No one that's even got the slightest bit of business intelligence would sign a contract like that. Yet men are expected to be dumbasses and sign away their lives. So, the thing is not only do you have a bad contract, but you have a bad business partner. That right there is a sign of a business that's about to go bankrupt. Things are going to get worse. I'm just glad that MGTOW doesn't have too much of the whole race baiting thing going on, although I don't think they could really do too much as far as race baiting other than, looking at the type of porn that's most popular with MGTOWs. Good luck gathering that data. But, honestly, I just really don't expect things to get better anytime soon. Even if I start identifying as MGTOW, doesn't mean that I'm gonna give up on trying to solve the issue before it reaches that critical mass. But I'm just one person, so there's nothing I can really do about it. All I can do is just continue to make these videos, continue to speak the truth, and if people want to go ahead and listen to it and start actually using the information to live better, to actually see the world for what it is, to actually understand the reason why things are going to hell in a handbasket, then that's cool. They can go ahead and do that. Who knows, maybe if enough people get this information and are able to actually see it for what it is, actually put aside their biases and just take a look at how things are going from a critical perspective, then maybe we can avoid that. But I don't have enough faith left in humanity for it. So, short answer is, we're fucked. Long answer is, we've got several generations of life being absolutely miserable for both men and women left before this current stupid, dumbass pile of shit generation dies off. So that's my response. But yeah, I do agree. A lot of men are finding out about MGTOW because of women. But it's understandable. Since you've got men sitting there and saying, oh, well, you know, you've got the blue pill men that are sitting there and saying, oh, you need to find a girlfriend or you're gay, blah, 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 blah. And then you've got the betas that are sitting there and saying, well, if you don't go out with a woman, then, you know, you're just sexist and you have a problem with women and nah, 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 nah. And then you've got the alphas that are sitting there and going, dude, they aren't worth it. Look, we're over here. Come join us. But at that point, figure it this way. If you're a college and you get an invite to 2 parties, at one party, everyone is male. At the other party, everyone is female. Which one are you going to go to? More than likely, guys at that point will go to the all-female party because they'd rather spend their time with low tide at the pier than at a sausage festival.